had a name. And when I heard that story, it just made it so clear how important the idea of a language is. I don't know about you, but when I think,
and now because it's the husband's fault, Heather had to come all the way to Omaha, and he's staying home. And now she has to do all this work for Deaf Child Hope, and he just sits at home. He's probably watching football, because tonight's the first football game of the NFL. But Heather is here tonight. Miss America! Can you believe that? Yeah! Her and her husband sponsor a child through Deaf Child Hope, and we're so thankful. And they've sent a little money off to the Lance's Deaf Orphans for a project, and they sent a little thank you back. So what we're going to do first is there's a video that Heather wants us to show first, and then as soon as that video is done, she's going to come up and share with us.
You can't help but feel very happy for them. They reached it. They made it.
From the moment I met her, and everybody says the same thing, she's just remarkably poised. I don't know, she was just a serenity about her, an inner peace. I was blown away. I was overwhelmed by her beauty, her confidence, her courage, her strength, and her enthusiasm.
The night she became Miss America, Heather Whitestone could feel the emotions of thousands of people, but she could barely hear the applause. Heather Whitestone is profoundly deaf, and has been almost since the beginning.
Heather was running a very high fever, common that you see with small children. She was throwing up, and I took her to the emergency room because I could not get her to quit throwing up. And they thought she had spinal meningitis.
Doctors in the emergency room weren't sure what made 18-month-old Heather sick, but as her fever climbed to 104, her situation became critical. To save her life, 2 different antibiotics were used, but the drugs posed risks: blindness, mental retardation, and deafness. Heather, the youngest of 3 daughters born to Daphne and Bill Whitestone in Dothan, Alabama, could hear nothing in her right ear and almost nothing in her left ear. As a family, they surrounded her with love and attention, and her sisters Stacy and Melissa realized quickly that helping Heather cope with deafness was everyone's job. As a toddler, Heather was equipped with a hearing aid to enhance the very little hearing she had in her left ear. But she remained primarily living in a silent world. She could not hear speech, and sound was a faint sensation that was almost completely out of reach.
I don't remember what it's like to hear when I was a little girl. I remember listening to music a lot, especially classical music. There was no words involved in it. And I could tell if it's a piano. I could not tell if it's a guitar or violin or flute. But I could hear some sound from them.
Her mother made the decision. Heather would use the little hearing she had left to develop speech. To live in the hearing world, she would have to understand others and speak to others without the use of sign language.
It was a very frustrating experience for me because I couldn't say it correctly immediately, and I'm not a very patient girl, and I always was stubborn because I couldn't accomplish quickly. It was a frustrating experience. It took me 6 years to say my last name correctly, but thankfully my mother did not give up. She continued to work hard, and I know that there was some time that mother had in her mind saying, am I doing the right thing? Because it seems to take forever to accomplish our goal.
Her journey out of silence had begun. What her mother was proposing was not the normal course for deaf children at that time. She wouldn't go to a school for the deaf and learn to sign. She would read lips and try to hear, and the goal was speech. Her mother, a school teacher, began working with her under a system known as ocupedics, maximizing the sound she did hear by forcing her to listen as her mother stood behind her and spoke.
And so Heather's first ballet teacher became a part of this very large task for a very little girl. All were now a part of a conspiracy of hearts and minds, and speech was literally the language of success.
Coming of age came early for Heather. The courage and determination to overcome her handicap required a discipline few children possess. Heather went to a public school and attended regular classes. Amazingly, she could speak, but understanding others, especially teachers, became more and more of a struggle.
I started feeling different when I was in 2nd grade. We had a fire drill and we all had to go outside. And I was wearing an FM system and the teacher was wearing a microphone. And I said to my teacher, I said, everybody's staring at me. And my teacher would say, oh, they were jealous of you because they think you were wearing radio. But I knew that she was not really telling me the truth, and I felt like I grew up a lot at that time. And then when I was in 4th grade, I was extremely lonely. As a matter of fact, I went to my mother and I told her, I want to go to school for the deaf. I don't want to be part of the hearing world. I want to go to school for the deaf. And that broke my mother's heart, especially after all the hard work she had done. I was lonely most of the time when I was in high school, and my dad and my mother were divorcing, so we had a difficult time. And so I started going to the church more often, and I started reading the Bible. And then the more I read it, the more I learned about Jesus. And the more I have hope, the more I believe that good things can happen to us. Jesus became my friend, and he still is. And he's the reason I became this American. He's the reason I dance wonderfully into the music, because there's lots of time I wanted to give up. But God always put his hand on me saying, do not give up. Always achieve your dream. And I have dreams for all of you. So don't ever give up. My parents were divorced and they could not afford my college education. My 2 older sisters went to the Air Force Academy because of the scholarship, the college education. So, but I could not go to the Air Force Academy because of my deafness, so I had to think of another way to get scholarship. Instead, I always wanted to be a famous ballerina. That's my lifetime dream. And I thought Miss America pageant would give me an opportunity to dance in front of television. And if the famous ballet company saw my dance, they might hire me, you know.
When Heather arrived in Atlantic City in September of 1994, her story was already making headlines.
There was a lot of talk about this young woman from Alabama who was the whole package. And that she was as extraordinary as she would be had she been a hearing person. The fact that she was hearing impaired, and not even just hearing impaired, and profoundly deaf, was extraordinary.
She was a great inspiration to a lot of kids, you know, who were suffering the same thing.
And so your first thought is a deaf Miss America, you know, and then what is this all about? And what is she all about? And how could she possibly enter one of these pageants? Because you have to be able to hear to compete, don't you?
I did watch that because I knew who Heather was, and I kind of thought to myself, well, probably, will the judges give this to someone with a disability? That was my first, I'm a skeptic. You kind of wonder, well, maybe we're not ready for that.
Heather Whitestone McCallum.
If Heather was skeptical, she kept it to herself. Soon she became aware that once again the audience was pulling for her, succumbing to what by now was a signature smile and charm.
You dance so beautifully. Do you hear the music?
I can hear some sound with my hearing aid.
And once again, her ballet performance to Via Dolorosa was flawless. And although there would be no second chance at this title, Heather was free of all anxiety. This was her moment.
I was having a peaceful feeling in my heart when I was dancing.
As a musician, I found it unbelievable that she could be so precise to the music without being able to hear the beat.
She counted out the beats, and she danced so beautifully, and she didn't hear the music. That's courageous. I mean, that takes a lot of guts.
When I finish it, I say to myself, this is it. This is it. I spent all my life dancing, and it's over. I cannot believe it. I accomplished my goal. I danced for the audio, to the light, to the music at the right time. I could not hear it. It was an awesome feeling. And I didn't want to let it go.
Finally, it was down to two, Miss Virginia and Miss Alabama.
Here we are now, down to two.
I read off the runner-up quickly because you've got to get to the Miss America part of it right away.
Okay, Reach.
Okay, this is it, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of a $20,000 scholarship is Miss Virginia Cullen Johnson. And the new Miss America 1995.
The girl very sweetly and promptly, you know, gave her a sign, a little nudge, but a sign that you're the winner. And so her face lit up. She was overcome with joy.
For such a time as this, she had been created. That was her purpose. She was meant to be an inspiration to others, and she was meant to be a light in the darkness for people.
I brought this crown with me. This is the same crown they put on my head when I won. It's the same one. And it's not made of real diamond. And if it's real diamond, I will not be kidding it right now. It's here with me. And it went to Afghanistan. When I visited the soldiers with other foreign Miss America, the soldiers loved it. And they put on their head, you know, for the photo shoot, and sent it to their picture to their mothers, wives, daughter, grandma. And it was real sweet. This crown has been broken about 12 times.
Wow.
And I put one here so you can see it more. This is more famous than me. And when you come to see me after my speech, you can put this crown on your head for a photo shoot. And I want to thank you help me because I know sign language a little bit, but it's like two different language for me. For example, one time I was giving a speech at the church and I was talking about baptize. And I signed this way. That means dead. I was baptized and they look at me and laughing at me. I thought, oh no, something is wrong with me. And that's why I always talk instead of sign. So thank you for helping me to interpret for me. When I was 18 months old, I lost my hearing. And you heard my mother's story. That's my mother. And she's very stubborn, determined, and motivated. She would not let me learn sign language until I was in high school because I'm the only deaf person in my mom's family. And she wanted me to be able to hear what my families are saying to me, especially when they say, I love you. So, but that doesn't mean for my mother it's a very easy decision to make because she had to work really hard with me. It took me 6 years to say my last name correctly. And imagine for being a mom to do this with a child who can hear a little bit from a hearing aid back in 1970s. Hearing aid and cochlear implant today are much better. But back in 1970s, there's not much support for a technology to help a deaf child to hear like today. And so anyway, my mother never gave up forever, like until I was in high school. And God has a plan for my mom to have me. And of course, I will tell you this, and I don't want to lie about it. There were days when I complained to God, why are you sending me to my mother? I can't stand her. And God said, one day you will know why. But of course we bond. My mother and I, we bond. That's normal. But that's because my mother cares so much about me and she did not want me to give up. And so when I was competing for the Miss America crown, I had to have a platform to talk about about my life or something I would like to help other people in our country if I win the Miss America title. My mother and I, and my sister too, we all created a STARS program. And STARS stands for like S-T-A-R-S. S stands for success through action and realization of your dreams. And STARS have 5 points. A positive attitude, a positive attitude, a goal, a willingness to work hard, face your limitation, and a support team. Anything is possible with God's help. So I'm going to talk about each point, and I want to share my life experience as well as Deaf Child Hope organization too. The first point is have a positive attitude. When I had an interview with the judges, and I was standing in front of the judges, and there were like at least 5 judges. Now, for a deaf person, in order to communicate very well, we had to read lips, and then whoever talked to us needed to talk slower. So my job was to educate them first. And explaining to them that they need to talk slower and look at me directly. And I will talk more about that later on. And the only reason I'm doing this was because I had positive attitude at the very beginning. I believed I could handle this. I believed I could communicate with the people, and I could dance, and I could overcome and inspire these people to vote for me to win the crown. And so it had a lot to do with positive attitude at the very beginning. And when I walk into the room with 5 churches, and then one of them asked me, what is the worst handicap? And someone like that. And I said to him, no, I was wrong. How did you handle with your handicap? I knew I would say something wrong. And I told him the same way you handled with yours. And he looked at me like, what? And I said to him, the worst handicap in the world is your negative attitude. So if you don't believe you can do it, that negative attitude will stop you from making your dream come true, not your disability. So that's what I believe. Negative attitude is the worst handicap. And I agree with the quote. I don't know who said it, but I hope it's a woman. Yes, woman smarter than man. But it could be a man who wrote this quote. And this quote is, there is a little difference in each of us, and that little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is your positive or negative, your choice.
Amen.
And same thing with the deaf child hope, JD, he believed we could do it, and that he started this organization with a positive attitude. He believed that we all together can reach out to many deaf children around the world. And that's a big dream. It seemed impossible. Just like I was dreaming of becoming the first Miss America with a disability. So yes, it is possible. Anything is possible with God's help. The second point is a goal. This is so important. And I agree with this person, John Johnson. He is the founder of Ebony magazine, EBONY. It's a magazine. He said, great dreams are too far for us to reach. They are too far for us to reach that we get discouraged easily. But each time we accomplish short-term goals, we gain more confidence each time. I'll give you an example. My dream is to dance perfectly at the right time with the music that I could barely hear on the stage at the Miss America Pageant, in front of not just the audience, but also television audience of 40 million people. Now that was my big dream. My first short-term goal was to feel the music. I put my hand on the speaker. I did not dance. Most people tell other people, oh, Heather danced to the vibration that she felt. I could not feel the vibration when I danced on the stage. So I had to memorize the numbers in my heart. As soon as the music started, I started counting the numbers, and I danced to the numbers of the music. That's how I danced, to the sound that I could barely hear. And so one of the first short-term goals was to put my hand on the speaker, and I counted the numbers with the music. And it took me at least 2 months to memorize the numbers. As soon as the music started, and I counted the numbers, and then with the music over. And that's how I listened to the sound. And then the second short-term goal was to go to my dance studio and meet my teacher and ask her to help me to create the dance step to to the music that I memorized in my heart. But again, the music lasted about almost 2 minutes. We started with the first 20 seconds of the music and we worked on the dance step. For the first 20 seconds, we accomplished that goal. Then the next 20 seconds, we accomplished this goal. Then the next 20 seconds, it took me 1 year, each little steps we made to accomplish all the dance steps and all the music, the numbers that I memorized in my heart. 1 year. But I felt so good when I got on the stage and started dancing because I accomplished many short-term goals that I did not worry one bit when I got to dance at the Miss America Pageant. That was 3 years of experience when you saw my dance performance on the stage. I practiced 5 days a week for 2 or 3 hours. And that's the third point, work hard. I know that this Deaf Child Hope program, they really do have many short-term goals. I could see that. And because of where they are today, they accomplished many short-term goals and they still have much bigger dreams to accomplish. And I have confidence in this group. I believe they know what they're doing and it is very possible for them to accomplish with God's help. And then the third point is a willingness to work hard. I remember I was driving home from the dance studio. I was doing the same step over and over my second year. And I said to God, I love you, I love Jesus, I love ballet, but I'm tired of doing the same step over and over. It's getting boring. That's what I was telling God. And God said, be patient. Keep up with your faithful hard work. Don't ever give up. It will pay off very well. And when I learned that when I work hard, people respect me more, people believe in my dreams more. And that's what I see in the Deaf Child Hope organization. I have seen their hard work, and they never give up. And that's why I'm here speaking to you all, because I have faith, I have more confidence, I believe in them more. And then the fourth point is face your problems. All of you, everybody, and me. I agree with Helen Keller. We saw a picture of Helen Keller. I first learned about her when I was in 4th grade class in a public school in Alabama. Because Helen Keller, she's from Alabama, and she's part of the Alabama history class for the 4th grade students. And I remember when I went to Philippines, and I was speaking to the girls, like hundreds of girls in the Hero School, and I asked them, how many of you know Helen Keller? Oh, actually, I didn't know. I said, how many of you know where Alabama is? And they all raised their hands, believe it or not. They know where Alabama is. And I said to myself, well, they're in America. You better not make fun of it, Alabama. Because this whole girls in Philippines know where Alabama is. That's how powerful this state is, the reputation. The reason they know Alabama is they study about Helen Keller. That's where she grew up. That's where she got her education. That's where she learned about God's love. That's why the whole world knows about Alabama, because they study about her life. And I agree with Helen Keller's quote, and she said, know your problems, but don't let this problem master you. You master your problems. And when I was competing for the Miss America pageant for the first time for my interview, competition. And I was walking to the room with the judges, and I said to them, because I wanted them to treat me like I'm a hearing person, just like other girls at the pageant. And I told them my name and my contestant number, and then I sat down and I let them ask me any questions. I did not understand most of them because one of them had massage, other had a deep Southern accent. And I understand, I grew up in the South, but when you have a very deep Southern accent, part of your lips doesn't move. I'm serious, I couldn't read the whole lips. It's too confusing for me. And then, of course, massage, other was talking too fast, other was looking at the paper when she asked me questions. My interview did not go well. I protected, I understood them, and of course, I did not answer the questions correctly. I lost. I went home and I told my mother I lost because of my deafness, that's for sure. And my mother, as she knows, she was stubborn, motivated, disciplined. She said, no, Heather, you did not lose because of your deafness. She saw my videotape of my interview. She said, Heather, you lost because it's all your fault. You did not tell them that you're deaf and they have to look at you and talk slowly. I was so mad at my mother. I said, you don't know what you're talking about. You're supposed to feel sorry for me, but she didn't know. I'm telling you the truth. You go back to the Miss America pageant again one more time, and then this time, you tell them about your deafness. Tell them the truth, and then you teach them how to communicate with you. I was so mad at Mom. I said, fine, I'm going to do that, and you still would be wrong. So I went back to the different pageant, had a second interview with the judges. I told them about my deafness. I told them they had to talk slowly and look at me directly. And then I sat down and then they asked me great questions. They were looking at me, they talked slowly. We had a great interview and I won. My mother was right. And then the fifth question, and fifth point is a support team. That we are a support team together for the deaf children. And that's what it's all about. That's why I flew here. I'm a very shy person. I know you don't believe me that. And I like to stay at home. I'm 48 years old. I'm not 21 years old, thin, gorgeous, dancing. I don't do this anymore. And I like to stay at home, just kind of hiding myself. But when JD asked me if I could come here and speak to you, I don't have a heart to say no. And I said to my heart, you have to go to help God. Yep. Yeah, God needs you here, just like God tells you to come here and sit and eat with us to support this organization. There's no difference between you and me. So that's why I flew here and speak with you all, because you are very valuable support team member. Your little difference really makes a huge difference. I tell you why. Because like 2 years ago, when my son turned 13 years old, he received money from his grandparents, from his father and me, and my other grandparent too. He collected the money. He came to me, he said, Mom, I want to give this money to the Deaf Child Hope organization. I said, okay, sure. So, that was sweet of him. So we gave his birthday money to the Deaf Child Hope organization. And then about a few weeks later, we received a thank you note. And they said these children were using his birthday money to buy ice cream. It was such a special treat for them They have ice cream for, I guess, forever because it's so expensive back where they are in Africa. And I say to myself, wow, that is how small amount of money make a huge difference in the children's life. So it is, I mean, like $1 is a tremendous big difference. No matter how small you get now, of course we want you to give big gift, not just $1, give more. The more the better. And I just want you to know that you are touching in other people's lives around the world. Here's another story I want to tell you before I will close this speech, because I think that what tells you how God used you to make a tremendous difference in this world. There was an orphan house. It's a true story. It's an orphan house. And there was a girl, she was kind of so quiet. And the doctor, the reason she was there was because she was legally blind in someone she couldn't see a little bit. And the doctor told her that she didn't really have good future. But she chose not to listen. She continued to educate herself. And then she became a smart girl. And the doctor said, you don't need to stay here. You can go ahead and leave the orphan house because you're already successful. You can go to college. And actually, the reason she did that was because someone in the orphan house stopped by her room every once in a while, every day, just like the adopted mother for the orphan children and the teacher who took their time to teach the deaf children exactly like that. This woman, she took care of the orphan children, and she stopped by her room and let her know how much she loved her, that she believed God has a plan for her life, and she's not giving up on her. And that's why this girl believed that she had a good future, and she became a well-educated girl that she could go to college. Fast forward, that girl became a beautiful young lady and a teacher, and she went to Alabama, and she touched this girl, another girl who was deaf and blind. What I'm talking about is Anne Sullivan, Helen Keller's teacher. If this lady who worked in the orphan house did not take her time to let Anne Sullivan to know how special she is and that God has a plan for her life, then Anne Sullivan will not have come to Alabama and touched Helen Keller's life. And Helen Keller will not be able to travel all over the world to touch many, many people's lives, including our lives today. That's how your difference is valuable. How valuable your little difference. You never know how much more difference you will make when you make this donation to this deaf child, just like my husband did for me. And on Christmas Day, 3 years ago, my husband, he was very, very picky. My husband, he invested money in the company. He asked all kinds of questions before he invested money in the company. He did the same thing with the organization, which is Deaf Child Hope. And after he talked with JD, he was very impressed. Now, I did not know that. My husband did not tell me that until on Christmas morning, he came to me. He said, this is my Christmas gift for you. And he showed me this two pictures. And he adopted, we sponsored this child and this teacher. And he said, Merry Christmas. That's why I'm here. That's how I got to know this organization. He did a great job. And he's coming to Colorado for my second appearance and meet the other people who are all involved in this deaf child organization. It's so precious. Now this one, I am praying for her very hard right now because she's having a cancer. And bless her heart. But I do believe with all my heart that she can be healed because I met another interpreter when I was Miss America. She also had a cancer. And I prayed for her so hard, and she survived, and she lived for 20 more years. So I'm praying for this lady, this teacher, because she had done a great job for this orphan school, and this boy, I don't want him to lose her. So this is a really sweet story for me to get involved, and I hope that I will get to meet them one day, maybe. And God bless you all. Thank you for being here to support this deaf child health organization. And I think they're great. I love you.
Presentation. Thank you very much. And I remember when I could dance like that too. I had high expectations for you and you surpassed them. Thank you very much for letting God use you in outstanding ways, and especially for coming here tonight. Thank you.
I don't know any deaf people in my life growing up. It was not something that I was